Dave Moss was played by Ed Harris, but James Tolkan originated the role on Broadway. Could you just tell the audience a little bit about that story and then how Back to the Future came to you a year later?
Back to the Future came a year later after. Yes, okay. Well, I was doing a movie in Vancouver called Iceman with Lindsay
Krause, Timothy
Dave Mamet's wife, and they asked me to read the script and said, "Tell us what you want to play." And I said, "I'd like to play this character Moss." So I was cast as Moss, and we came here and we rehearsed and played the Goodman Theater in Chicago, and then we went into New York and we played in New York, and it was a great success, and it won the Pulitzer Prize. And I was playing it about a year, and I got a phone call from Richard Zemeckis to do Back to the Future. I had no idea who Richard Zemeckis was. Robert Zemeckis.
I don't know who Richard Zemeckis is.
Robert Zemeckis. Anyway, so I said, okay. And as an actor, I have always said I'm never going to Hollywood till they send for me. And this was the call from Hollywood, so I went out there and I did Back to the Future, and I stayed out there for about 10 years doing various things, and I had a very great time out there. Too good a time. I had too good a time at times, and here I am now, and I can't believe after all these 25 years that I'm here talking about Back to the Future to all you lovely people. Thank you.
The Back to the Future trilogy is unique in a number of ways, not just for the sort of the settings that define the genre that each film sort of belongs into, but part 3 is actually quite cool because it's really Doc's story. In that movie, Marty sort of becomes the wacky Western sidekick, and you become the hero who is the sharpshooter and gets the girl in the end. And I want to know what you thought about, or if you even felt like you were being put center stage in that film.
I haven't heard that said before. I just kind of felt like just the story, the relationship was resuming, you know, as it was previously. I loved that it was a Western, and horseback riding, and working on that steam engine, and having a romance, finally. And I guess it was heightened a bit because Doc had to devise a way to get the DeLorean working again so that he and Marty would get back to their time, you know, and so it was urgent. But then every moment in the film, and all 3 films, was urgent. So
it's really a reverse of the first movie, because in that movie, Marty's the one trying to egg you on to get everything going, and you're very, you're with Clara the entire movie. So it's really interesting. How does everyone feel about the sequels? Do you really like them, or do you look back and you think it would have been best to leave well enough alone?
I think they play out. I think it's great.
I agree.
Yeah. And I like that the second one is kind of dark and gets, dangerous, then comes back up again. I think it's great.
Yeah, there's certainly been a dark streak that has gone through Robert Zemeckis' career, and especially with the subplot that you had in the first movie, Leia, where your character is essentially put in the position of falling in love with and seducing your own son. And I'm wondering if you remember back then, if during the production or even in the sort of the wake of the film's success, if there was any sort of objections, to that sort of storyline, and do you think that if Back to the Future was made today, that you'd be able to get away with that in the sort of the moral watchdog environment that we have now?
I don't know. That's a good question. But I remember in the original script, when I say you have purple underwear and your name is Calvin, he asked me where they were, and they were on my hope chest. That part they fixed. But yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a strange story, and that's what I like. My character was kind of twisted, even though she, appears to be the honest.
She doesn't know,
No, of course she doesn't know. And and it was perfectly crafted, which I think is why especially Back to the Future 1 endures. It was crafted so beautifully by Robert Zemeckis that you can set up a joke, and 45 minutes later you tell the punchline, and you guys are with it. That's a movie that everybody knows to watch and listen, and Zemeckis just did a brilliant job.
Claudia, you sort of left the acting game some time ago. Why don't you tell the audience what you've been up to for the last 15 or so years?
Well, I'd love to. I own a men's clothing store in Studio City called Armani Wells for the last 19 years and 3 months. And it's all high-end clothing at discount prices. It's celebrity clothing, studio clothing, casual to formal, head to toe. ArmaniWells.com. I ship clothes all over the country. And been raising my son. I have a 15-year-old son. And I actually miss acting, and I want to go back. I miss it.
James, I'm sure there's not a week goes by where you're in public somewhere and someone doesn't shout the word slacker at you. Was that a word, do you remember when you were growing up, was that a word that was part of the lexicon? Was that something you heard back then, or was that something that was invented?
It was not. And I didn't really become familiar with that word until this movie. And you know, since this movie, I've heard slacker used on the floor of the United States Senate.
Wow.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's become a word that everyone uses, and it's from Robert Zemeckis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the one question about Strickland I want to ask is that why was George McFly considered a slacker? Like Marty, you know, he disrespected authority, he was late for school all the time, but George just seemed to be sort of a kind of a nerdy, picked upon kid. So what is the differentiation between Marty and George?
Because his heritage is that of a family of slackers that
We got one more question as we wrap this up, because I'm sure everyone is sitting very patiently, dying to see this movie again. We're sort of, you know, Back to the Future at the time, you know, original screenplays were few and far between back then, and they're certainly even more so now, 25 years later. Hollywood is very much going to the remake machine, you know, over and over again. I mean, just this month, we got The Wolfman, we got The Crazies, Piranha is coming out later this year, True Grit is being remade by the Coen brothers later this year. And then the 80s are coming back in a big way. In a month, we got Clash of the Titans coming out, A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Karate Kid is being remade, and one of Leia's films, The Incomparable Red Dawn. So I wanted to sort of ask all of you, what would your reaction be if you even saw the suggestion of a headline that Back to the Future was going to be remade or reimagined in some way? And what do you think is so enduring about this entire series that would make it impossible to be remade?
Well, it wouldn't have us in it, so that would be possible. I don't know. I don't know if they would allow that. I mean, maybe Bob Zemeckis would do it. I don't know.
Bob Gale always says there'll never be a Back to the Future 4 because without Michael J. Fox playing Marty, there's no Back to the Future.
Most certainly. I mean, yeah, it's the idea, I know Universal, I guess, owns the rights to the title and the idea, but the characters, like, they could not do a Marty McFly and a Doc Brown kind of thing. So maybe we're all in good hands, and we're never going to see this remade.
I actually heard that in India they were doing an Indian version of Back
Bollywood
to the Future.
movie?
Someone sent me a link.
We do have Hot Tub Time Machine coming out in a few weeks. And apparently there is a subplot involving a guy and his mother. There is something,
It
so
wasn't coming out.
yeah, it's coming out. It's coming out. So I wanted to thank James, Claudia, Leia, Christopher.
Thank you guys. Thank you for coming.
Let's all walk back to the future, huh?
Take me away, I don't mind, but you better promise me I'll be back.